Welcome back to another episode of the Everything Transformer, Everything GIJoe podcast. I am your host, the Swish Pop, and we're going to get right into it. You know, like always, we're a little late with this episode, but that's what happens when you have to deal with the holiday season. And, you know, we're just going to jump right into it. We're going to skip around here a little bit. And what we're going to do, we're going to talk about my top 10 purchases of 2024, and that's going to be revolve around Transformers and GIJoe. We're going to skip the usual, but I will go over just quickly some recent additions here as you jump right into it. Some recent additions. The reason why I'm kind of skipping past there this week is because, you know, we just had the holiday season. A lot of people have an influx of stuff, and you got stuff for the holidays, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Anyways, so what we're going to do, I'm just going to go over a couple things I picked up. One thing I did get for the holiday season for Christmas was the GIJoe Compendium Volume 1 of Real American Hero, which basically consists of the first 50 issues of the GIJoe Real American Hero comic book. I myself have been always a big fan of the GIJoe Real American Hero comic book, and basically starting collecting them myself around issue 90. And basically have pretty much issue like 90 to like 152 or something like that. So it was those first issues that I didn't have, and I was like, you know what? Well, I pick up the compendium. I'm not going to bother collecting all these comics because, you know, I mean, if I came across them for good prices, I'd pick them up, but some of them are quite expensive. So I figured I'd pick up the compendium, and that way I have them, and I can read the story, continue on. Obviously, that's 1 to 50, and now 50 to 100. I'll probably need that one as well to help me complete the story, but we'll get there when we get there. After that, I ran into a sweet deal on Walmart.com. Basically, the Transformers Generation 1 retro reissue of Bombshell and Ramhorn was on sale for $10 American. You cannot beat that, my friend. $10. Along with that, I was able to pick up Studio Series 86 Bumblebee, and which something I've been meaning to pick up for a while, and it was expensive, and it was just like, do I want this? He's such a small figure. I think it was $16 on Walmart.com. So you know what? Both of it together, it was $26 plus tax. Boom, done. Holiday season hot deal for me. Anyways, I have both of those. So that's basically some pickups. I mean, I always get stuff in the mail, doing trades and stuff like that, getting GIJoe pieces, getting Transformer pieces, but that's the major thing. And what we're going to jump into right now is my top 10 purchases of 2024. Now, I will warn you, there's no real, say, order to this. I basically went through and was like, well, I like that, I like that, I like that. I covered everything. And the way it worked out is basically I have 5 Transformer items and 5 GIJoe items. So it worked out pretty good. And, you know, let's just jump into it. So if you do like something you hear, make sure you leave a comment below. And as well, please think about hitting subscribe, hitting the like button. These podcast episodes are a little less listened to compared to our my regular videos. So, I mean, if we could get this to 100 views, that'd be great. Anyways, so let's jump right into it. So I'm just going to pick one from the list, and then we'll talk about it, and then we'll move on. So first one, Transformer item is animated Optimus Prime. So Transformers Legacy, I think it was United, Transformers Legacy United, animated Optimus Prime. And this one, Transformers Animated has a special soft spot in my heart. It is one of my collections that I have. I have, you know, I'm not 100% completist, which I've mentioned on the show before, but I do have a good chunk of Transformers Animated. Like, let's say 90% of it. All the main characters, you know what I mean? All the some hard to get pieces. And I have a bunch of it. So when I seen that animated Optimus Prime was coming to Legacy, I was like, whoa, that's really cool. And, you know, I had pre-ordered him. And basically, whenever he showed up, he was really delayed here for some reason. I got him really late. But he's pretty badass. And, I mean, I think they did a really good job in faithful recreation of that animated look, but bringing it to Legacy. They did a good job. I really hope down the line we'll see a few more of these animated Legacy characters. You know, they did Bumblebee. He was cool. They did Prowl. He was pretty cool. I didn't pick up Prowl yet, but Bumblebee's cool. Prime is cool too, and they did a good job on Prime. I'm happy with them. I think they nailed it. Let me know what you think. Did you pick them up? So that was not number one on my list, but one of my top 10 purchases for 2024. Next up, let's bounce back with a G.I. Joe figure. I'm going to pick out the G.I. Joe Classified Night Creeper. I think, personally, the Night Creeper is one of the best characters they released in 2024. I think the mold is amazing. He came with a ton of amazing accessories. He even has that secondary head, which emulates the version 2 Night Creeper. I think they rocked it. I mean, who doesn't love ninjas? And I mean, if you were going to army build one character for 2024, I think the Night Creeper is one of the main ones you should army build. So, I mean, I think that's pretty quick and sweet. I think he's pretty good. I think he's easily one of the best classified figures they released in 2024. If you can think of some better classified figures from 2024, leave them in the comments below, but he is my top one, and I was so glad I was easily able to pre-order him, got him in, had no issues with him. I actually ended up with a second one at some point because my backup pre-order snuck in and was shipped as well. Long story short, I found him a new home. I only have one because I have a small budget. I don't army build as of right now, but that Night Creeper is amazing. Okay, so next up, let's bounce back. You're going to notice the theme here with the Transformers thing, and it's not done on purpose, I promise you. Next up is Transformers Legacy United Generation 1 Optimus Prime. Now, this guy is pretty sweet, and like they did a good job here because basically, you know, everyone was so excited about Transformers, the missing link, when Optimus Prime was announced, and they basically, you know, took Optimus Prime, gave him extra articulation, and, you know, and sold him for like $100. And like, I think it was more than that actually, but he was really expensive. And for me, who's very budget conscious, I didn't really need that guy. I'm not a hardcore collector like that. And when they announced that they had this Legacy Generation 1 coming, I mean, I'm sorry, this is basically just missing link on the cheap, and I'm fine with it. You know, he looks and feels like Generation 1 Optimus Prime, and he's got a more plastic feel to him compared to the diecast version of the missing link. But this guy, you can't beat this. It was, you know, the regular standard price for a deluxe figure. He's a little small, but you know what? It's so cool. And I think they really nailed it, especially for a product that was scheduled to come out in the 40th anniversary year. So, I mean, they totally nailed this. Totally nailed it. And I think they did a great job. It'll be interesting to see, I mean, if we'll ever get any more, like say, will we get that missing link 03 and 4, the Bumblebee and Cliff Jumper in a legacy version, to a cheaper alternative to the missing link hardcore collector one. Anyways, we'll have to wait and see if we get more details on that. But anyways, for now, that Generation 1 Optimus Prime, superb, nicely done by Hasbro. Now, we're going to bounce back to G.I. Joe. And in 2024, one of my purchases was a G.I. Joe Classified Stinger. This thing, I have been waiting for this for a while because, I mean, the Vamp was obviously released first and a lot of people loved it. But as soon as I seen the Vamp, I was like, yeah, the Vamp's cool, but I really want a Stinger. So I'm going to hold off on purchasing the Vamp. I still don't have a Vamp, and I don't really see myself getting one because, I mean, they're really expensive right now because they're not really readily available anymore. But the Stinger is what I expected it to be. It is basically, obviously, a recolor of the Vamp, like we all know it is. But it's got those blast effects for the missiles in the back. It's so big, and it's just amazing. And, you know, I'm so glad I was able to get the Stinger because I do have, you know, the Dragonfly, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little later. And now I've got those two guys who can battle. I've got the ground vehicle and the helicopter. They can battle basically, and I'm happy with that because classified vehicles are big and they take up a lot of space. So I'm limited on how many I can get personally, but I'm happy I have this Stinger to start out, basically build around that vehicle, and excited for that. So, I mean, I'm glad. I would like to probably get the MMS or MSS or whatever it is, the missile system, for a trailer for it. But yeah, we'll see how that goes in the future. But yeah, the Stinger, definitely one of my top purchases of 2024 for classified. Next up, we'll bounce back to Transformers. So where are we at now? We did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is number 6 on our list. Well, once again, not number 6, just the 6th item out of 10 for top 10 purchases of 2024. And this one is Transformers Legacy United Soundwave. Now, I think a lot of people picked this guy up. He was going to be a hot seller. He's got really nice paint apps. And of course, he comes with 3 of those cassettes, right? We got Ravage. We got the Buzzsaw. We have, and what's the blue guy? The blue guy, Rumble. They got Rumble as well. So I think he is a must get. I have to be honest, I was a little on the fence when I originally purchased them, picked them up, was because I do think at some point they're going to do a Studio Series 86, a proper Studio Series 86 version of him. I would rather have the Studio Series 86 version of him compared to the Legacy version. But, I mean, that's probably a year away, maybe more. So I'm going to stick with the Legacy United version right now. If they do come out with a Studio Series 86 and he is totally badass, which I think he will be, maybe I'll trade up. I'll sell the Legacy one in favor of the 86 one, but we'll cross that bridge when it happens. So basically, I mean, you can't complain. They did it very well. And of course, I love getting all these Generation 1-esque Legacy figures. So Soundwave was basically a no-brainer. I think I got mine at GameStop, so I had a bit of a discount on it. So that helped with the price tag. But I think Legacy Soundwave is pretty sweet. Now, let me know in the comments. Do you think that Legacy Soundwave is like the pinnacle of the versions of Soundwave they have released in like the last couple of years? Or are you holding out for an 86 version? Like, let me know in the comments what you think is the better option here. The Legacy one or to hold out for an 86 one. Anyways, okay, moving on. Next thing, we are talking about G.I. Joe. And one of the things that I really liked that I picked up for G.I. Joe this year was the retro classified Scarlet. And I really think that the retro line really came into its own this year. Previously, the releases were kind of spotty. This was the first year where they kind of like really made sure like, hey guys, we're going to have lots of retro available for you. And I think Scarlet was one of the pinnacle ones of the releases this year. Basically, they really nailed both the packaging. Of course, they fixed the blister card. It's very thick right now. But they did a very good job with nailing her real American hero look and vibe in the figure. And, of course, the accessories that she comes with. And I think they just did a great job. And I don't think you, as a person who collects classified, you can complain. Because this retro Scarlet totally nailed it. And I'm happy to have her in my retro collection. Of course, I don't get every figure in the retro one because, I'm not a fan of double dipping. And we've talked about that on the channel before in a couple of videos. I won't go into it right now, but the retro Scarlet really nailed it. And I'm happy to see that they're really continuing a lot with the retro line. And it is growing and gaining traction. So, that's that one. Next up, let's talk about... Now, this one might not hit with people. And I have a very specific thing here. So one of my most favorite things to collect right now in the Transformer realm is Transformers Studio Series 86 stuff. And of course, we just talk about a possible Soundwave at some point, but that's not a thing. So I do enjoy my 86 series. And one of the things I was able to get this year was the Studio Series 86 Nah. Now, you're like, what do you mean you picked him up this year? So Nah was one of those ones where like he was out like, I think in last year, the year before, and basically I didn't pick him up, but he was one of the first ones that was kind of re-released in 86 series. And I made sure this time I'm like, nope, I really love my 86 series movie figures, so I got to pick up Nah, and I was able to get him, I think sometime mid-year. Anyways, that guy, he totally rocks. Like that Sharkticon, like transformation, and I just think they totally rocked it. I think they did a really good job. I think they always do a very good job on the 86 figures. I mean, most of them come from Legacy and they're just repainted, but basically, I do think that that line is stellar. It is completely stellar. I think they just do such an amazing job of hitting that like nostalgia that you're like, yeah, this is an 86 movie line figure, and I'm really happy with it. So now as Sharkticon, you know, that is one you could totally troop build for sure. So I mean I can't because I'm poor. Now I'm not poor, but I have a budget for these things. So I got my one figure. I'm happy with it. So you know what? 86 Nah, totally worth picking up. Boom. Okay, so let's move on. Sorry, I'm not trying to roll through these super quick. I'm just trying to make sure I cover them, say a few words about them, move on, because I'm trying to actually reduce the length of this episode. So, you know, a lot of people aren't listening, I think, because the episodes are too long. So I'm just trying to reduce this one to see how it goes. So nice and concise for you guys. Anyways, next up. Now, this is where so what we'll talk about is another G.I. Joe figure thing. And what we're talking about is the G.I. Joe classified Techno Viper. And I think right behind the Night Creeper that I mentioned earlier, I think the Techno Viper is one of the best figures they released this year. I think 2024 was a really good year for classified. They really nailed a lot of figures. And the Techno Viper, I mean, who doesn't love Cobra? Cobra troop builders are the best and the bread and butter of the classified line. And Techno Viper, they did such a good job. That purple just totally pops. It pops, man. It pops. And he's got all his accessories. He's got that little armband communicator thing. I think they did a really good job. Once again, if I was going to troop build one from this year, the Night Creeper would be number 1. The Techno Viper would be number 2. They're such a good bunch of figures they've done this year. The Techno Viper, really nice addition. And of course, if you remember, they released a lot of figures in Classified this year. And we had like a lot of Dreadnoks and stuff like that. And I just like the Techno Viper and the Night Creeper just a little bit above some of those other characters. And I think that they did a really solid job with it. So I'm totally happy to have the Techno Viper on my top 10 purchases of 2024. Okay, so earlier I mentioned you're going to see like a trend here with my Transformers, and it was really seriously not done on purpose. The way it just worked out that way, okay? So just recap, we did animated Optimus Prime, Generation 1 Optimus Prime, Soundwave, 86 Nah, and now we have Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime. Now, Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime, I mean, I think as Transformer fans, we can all agree that Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime won the year. I think it is a fair thing to say. I think if you were going to rank this list, which I have not, Studio Series 86 would have to be number 1. Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime would have to be number 1. I think that's totally safe to say. He is basically a mini masterpiece figure, and at a price point that everyone can afford. I mean, he wasn't cheap, but I mean, I think for what you got, they totally packed a lot of stuff in there. You got roller, you got blast effects, you got accessories, You got an amazing paint job. You got a full trailer. They totally rocked it. Totally rocked it. And I don't think, I'm not really sure where they can go with 86 series from here, because I think they have just done such an amazing job. I mean, what do you think? Like, can anyone fault this figure? I know there's a bit of a technical difficulty with some of his feet molding, and a lot of people are having issues with that, but who cares? Seriously, when it comes down to it, it's not such a big deal. And they totally nailed it. They knocked it out of the park with 86 Optimus Prime, and he's the pinnacle of the 86 series for me. I mean, we'll see what they do with the Megatron. I know that's a video I have up on the channel. It's a hot topic of discussion, but we're not going to talk about that here. 86 Optimus Prime, I mean, there's not much more to say. The guy is amazing. Now, we're going to go back to G.I. Joe for a second. The last G.I. Joe thing on my list that came in 2024 for me, for most of you out there. And you know what I'm going to say. I already briefly talked about it earlier. The G.I. Joe Classified HasLab Dragonfly. It's a no-brainer. It had to be on the list. It had to be on the list. I'm going to tell you a secret here right now. Don't judge me, because I don't know how many people are even going to get to 22 minutes into this podcast. But currently my Classified Dragonfly is still in the box. I've taken pieces out. I've looked at it. I just, with the holiday season, I haven't had a chance to put it together and put it on display. So I still have that excitement waiting for me. But you know what? You can't beat it. It came with 4 figures. Really, some really kick-ass figures. I'm really excited about Night Force Ripcord. I think that's such a stellar figure. The vehicle is huge. I mean, I don't think a lot of people, myself and my wife, were really prepared on how big this vehicle is. And that is one of the reasons why mine is currently in the box. That doesn't matter, because the box is huge anyways. And the box just sits there and like mocks me daily. But I'll get it out of the box and set up at some point. I'll post some pictures to Twitter and Instagram at some point. But that thing is absolutely stunning. Such a amazing, such a technical, stellar job that the design team at Hasbro did with that. I think there's not much to say about it. There's a reason why it is on my top 10 purchases. It was by far my most expensive purchase of the year. But you know what? I'm fine with that. It's actually technically, if we want to get technical, I purchased this in 2023. It was delivered in 2024. So it's technically not allowed to be on this list, but I mean, I think for all intents and purposes, we will include it on the list. So the Dragonfly, totally amazing. I overuse the word amazing, but I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. They rocked it. The lighting effects, the blast effects, there's so many of them, and so many accessories with it. And the fact that it came with 4 figures, they just totally did such a good job with it. And I'm really excited to see the Classified HasLab line continue. I personally didn't back the Rattler, but I've talked about that in videos before as well. So I won't talk about that, but I'm excited to see what they come with next. And the Classified line is doing very, very, very well. Now, that's 10 items. But I'm going to be honest, I'm looking at my list here, and I made a mistake in my list. And you're like, well, how do you make a mistake in your list, good sir? And the reason why I made a mistake, I wrote down 5 Transformers, I wrote down 5 G.I. Joe things, and basically bounced back and forth between the 2 lists. My second item for Transformers has Generation 1 Optimus Prime. And we discussed the Transformers Legacy United Generation 1 Optimus Prime. That missing link, cheap missing link replacement, I think he's an awesome figure. But as I was going through the list, I realized when I wrote that down, that's not what I was talking about. What I was actually referring to on my list was the Walmart exclusive Generation 1 Optimus Prime Retro reissue. So the original Generation 1 Optimus Prime was reissued and released to Walmart. He's a hot seller. And that is what I wanted to add to my list, because if you're a fan of this channel, you know that I absolutely love Generation 1 reissues. And I was so excited to get this figure. I actually used one of my tricks where I actually ordered 2 of these from Walmart. And the reason why I ordered 2, not because I wanted to have an extra one to open one, because I thought if I ordered 2 of them, that they would come in some sort of box and they would be better protected. I didn't want Walmart to send them in a really cruddy box and it come to me damaged. So that's a trick. You order 2 of something and it doubles your thought that you're going to get in a box, or at least one of them is going to come in good condition. And then you can just simply return the second one. So use that if you're a collector out there and you need to get something in good shape. At the beginning of this video, when I ordered the Generation 1 Retro Bombshell, I accidentally just ordered one. Walmart sent it in a paper bag. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to get crushed. It didn't get crushed, and I got lucky. But when you order 2 of something, a lot of times they'll send it in a box, because they come in probably 2. Like, for example, the Generation 1 Optimus Prime Retro Reissue comes 2 to a box. So when I ordered 2, they just sent me the shipper box with 2 of them in it. And so that's kind of cool, because I have the shipper box as a collector's item. I have 2 mint Optimus Prime Generation 1 Retro Reissues as well. It came out perfectly. So I'm not sure I'm going to do the second one right yet, but I got 2. I only need 1. That's good enough for me. So that Generation 1 Legacy Optimus Prime is cool too. So let's say we talked about 10 items. We've got a bonus item as well. So we talked about 11 items in total here for my top 11 purchases of 2024. I think 2024 was a good year for both G.I. Joe and Transformers. Of course, as we look forward to 2025, Transformers is in a good state. We got the Age of the Primes coming, and basically we've got Superion. I've done a video on that. I got a couple of those guys pre-ordered. We got Studio Series 86 Devastator. I've got a bunch of those guys pre-ordered. Don't forget, I'll post on the community page, but the second batch of Studio Series 86 Devastator pre-orders are coming soon. They said they were coming early 2025. I'll make sure to keep you to update, okay? But stay tuned to the channel, okay, on YouTube. And then for GIJoe Classified, we've got like the Cobra Claw coming. We got some like the porta bunker type thing, the porta potty bunker. There's a lot of cool stuff coming for both Transformers and G.I. Joe. I'm going to do my best, like always, to cover whatever I get. I can't get it all because I simply don't have the budget for it. So I usually pick and choose what I'm looking for. For GIJoe Classified, I believe Xandar is coming soon, so I'll be able to talk about him. And so I'm excited. GIJoe and Transformers heading into 2025 is gonna be absolutely stacked. So let me know. Let me know in the comments below as well. Although we just talked about 2024, let me know what you're personally looking forward to in 2025. So I'm going to cut the episode here. This is a half-hour episode. If you got something to do, throw this on, listen to my ramblings, and let me know what you think of whatever I said here. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode soon. Talk to you later. Bye.